think it was supposed to be about football, and then after ended up being cross country. So it's just it's a beautiful picture. If you haven't if you haven't seen it, it portrays the life of Hispanics, but then you always see Our Lady Guadalupe in the background. So it's just one of the icons that you will not go to a Hispanic home or Mexican home without seeing at least one or two images of Our Lady Guadalupe, a little altar or a little just statue or somehow represent Our Lady Guadalupe in their home. And Our Lady Guadalupe is such a powerful cultural symbol in Mexico and beyond. She represents a fusion of indigenous and Spanish cultures. And you see her appearance, half of her body, or what you can see, the skin is lighter than the other side. It's supposed to be representing the fusion of both cultures, but then also her entire, the way she is portrayed. And then, like I said, we'll see into details. And of course, we can not talk about Our Lady Guadalupe without talking about the tilma of Juan Diego, right? It's a cloak, the piece of cloth that is made out of this fiber that is supposed to be so fragile that it wouldn't even last 5-10 years, and it's been lasting centuries. And they've been doing so many studies every year, different approaches from different scientists. They're always approaching Our Lady Guadalupe. They're trying to find out what is this cloak made out of? Why is it lasting so long? And then, so you'll find out more. So one of the things that I love so much about talking about Our Lady Guadalupe is the fusion, the unity of both cultures without neither or losing its own identity. So it's just enriching, having this combination of both cultures. And this image, it says a bridge in the indigenous and the Spanish cultures, fostering a sense of unity and representing this harmonious coexistence of diverse beliefs in Mexico. So it's not one culture of the other that is so strong and preeminent, but it's a combination or a fusion of both cultures. And also, Our Lady Guadalupe was declared the patroness of the Americans by Pope Pius XII, and this happened in 1945. So in the video you will hear 1946, and I started looking and doing more research. I said 45 or 46, so it is 45, but 46 is when she was crowned. So they put a crown in 1946, so that's what you see that. And so she is acknowledged as a spiritual figure of great significance for the entire Western Hemisphere. And the devotion of Our Lady Guadalupe extends far beyond Mexico. Like I said, is widespread following among Catholics in North and South America. So I was surprised to see, when I had the opportunity to go to Central and South America, to see Our Lady Guadalupe and to see a big devotion. We have a very famous priest, Padre Marcos Galvis. He's from Venezuela, and he's always, she just opened and built up with the whole community's help a church, and then he's dedicating that to Our Lady Guadalupe. And he's in Venezuela, so, and it's a very small rural town, and so you can see the presence of our Blessed Mother in different places in the advocation of Our Lady Guadalupe. So we went through the highlighting the cultural, some of cultural and some of the religious aspects, so importance of Our Lady Guadalupe. So now let's talk about the operation that I think a lot of people are more interested in finding out. So as you can see, it's a miracle image. The image of a tilma is said to bear the likeness of Virgin Mary and the advocation of Our Lady Guadalupe. And the colors and symbols are believed to convey a message in the line of both the Christian and the Aztec symbolism. The impact, the conversion of the amount of people, it was by the millions, and it was within just a couple years of the operations. Once people start seeing the image in the tilma, then there's so many conversions happening. I think there were, in one of the sites that I was sourcing when I was praying and preparing this presentation for you, said they got to the point there were thousands people getting baptized a day, like per day. 14,000, I don't know how many say the source, but there were thousands a year. So the Franciscans they just couldn't keep up, right? It's a good problem to have. I guess if you're going to have a problem, that's a very good one to have. all those conversions. So in one of the beauties of Our Lady Guadalupe, she's a symbol of unity. And she's become a symbol of Mexican identity and is revered by millions of Catholics of Mexico again and beyond. Okay, so the apparitions, I don't know if you ever wonder, like, how do we know what Our Lady Guadalupe said, right? So his name is Antonio Valeriano. He was indigenous Aztec who was convert, and so he wrote the document that is called Nican Mopua, and that is in Nahuatl, the language that it was at that time in that area. Now we know it as Mexico City, but it was called Tenochtitlan. So at that time, and so people that are very intellectuals about the Nahuatl language, they say when they start reading it, they said it's such a beautiful written that it was in classical Nahuatl. So it wasn't not just any Nahuatl, it was a classical, the very elegant, and they said it was a poetry. So I haven't found any source that they say this is the original, but I found many sources that they said they have different copies of the first documents that were of Nican Mopua, including one that is in New York City. And so, and that's where it provides the account of the apparitions of Our Lady Guadalupe to San Juan Diego in 1531. So those that you see in the pictures, those are some examples of the original, some of the original copies of the document, because no one knows for sure where the very original is. And Nican Mopua means it is narrated here. So in Spanish, aquí se narra. So this is what is written, what is narrated. So that's what the name Nican Mopua means. And where it happened, it was Tepeyac Hill near present-day Mexico City, which at that time it was called Tenochtitlan. And the recipient was San Juan Diego, an indigenous Aztec, and I found his name at that time, and his original name is Cuauhtlatoatzin. Cuauhtlatoatzin, that was his original name. And then later he was called Juan Diego in 1474 when he was baptized. And so the first appearance, we have four appearances altogether. So the first one is the Virgin Mary in the Abdication of Our Lady Guadalupe appeared to Juan Diego, asking him to go to the bishop and request the construction of a church and honor that site. She told him exactly where she wanted this church to be built. Can you imagine that? I mean, I know we say it, we see it represented, but just think about it being there. Just think about just hearing. And another thing that it was so beautiful, because Our Lady Guadalupe, just like any other apparition that you see through history, they usually speak the language of the people that are appearing to, and this was exactly the same thing with Our Lady Guadalupe. We actually know her name when she appeared to San Juan Diego's uncle, who was ill. So you saw it represented, I'm sure, that he was just laying here, he was really sick, and then, so that's when she actually revealed her name to him, to his uncle. So that's how we know her name. And so the second appearance, and I even looked online and I said, what day of the week was this, right? So it was a Saturday, the first apparition, then Sunday. And so I see Juan Diego, as you can probably imagine, and a lot of people are like, why was the bishop so mean? Why will he not just receive him? But I think at that time, the bishop was just doing his job. He was protecting, just, can you imagine, like someone coming into the bishop and say, I have something to tell you, like the Blessed Mother appeared to me. So I'm sure he was also like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? I need to have a proof of this, right? So that's exactly what happened. So he went back. And so the third appearance, San Juan Diego's uncle, that's when he became really, really sick. And he seeks help from Our Lady Guadalupe. And so she reassures him that his uncle will recover and reinforces her request for a church. So basically, I got it, I take care of your uncle, but please go and tell the bishop that this is what I want. I want a temple to be built here in exactly the place and everything, right? And the fourth appearance, and that's when San Juan Diego encounters Our Lady Guadalupe again in his way to find a priest for his uncle. because the uncle is the one who requested a priest. He was dying, so she instructs him to gather roses. And at that time, just think about it, it's this mountain, and it's December, right? So it's so dry, and there's, I mean, unfortunately, I have a lot of you haven't been there, but you've been there. So it's a hill, like it's not, logically you go there and you're like, there's no way roses will be here, right? But at that time, now, of course, everything is roses and everything is beautiful because it's been created that, built for that. But at that time, it was dry. No trees had any leaves or anything. So, but I think one of the beautiful parts here is that Juan Diego listens to Our Lady and actually goes there and follows everything that she has to say. And I think that in itself, just listening to that part, just to me, is just so beautiful. Like you're hearing a command and actually following. And his faith was so great because you can probably imagine how sad he was that his uncle was not doing well. And he's like, no, your uncle was fine. Just go and tell the bishop. He will be okay. He will be taken care of. So it's a lot of faith, right? A lot of faith. And so the apparition, so the overview of the miracles attributed to Our Lady Guadalupe, so they obviously impacted the conversion of millions of Catholicism in Mexico. That's pretty obvious. I mean, you see something that is happening, you see a tilma that is there, it's just, I mean, it was meant to be. So the tilma in itself it has the colors and symbols that are believed to be convey a message in line with both. And it has the colors of both cultures. So it has the blue for royalty, it's a blue-green, and then the green that it was more for, they use it more in the indigenous world and in the art that they will use. And also, Our Lady Guadalupe it's believed that it was divinely imprinted. And I'm going to just pause for a second there. They have done so many studies. They even recreated another piece. And so the interesting part is usually, I don't know a lot about painting, but for everything, and if we have somebody here, they can probably attest to this, that you have to have a layer or a coat of something before you even put any paint there. And this is a material that it was not cloth, but it was made out of a plant. So imagine that it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the first coat of something that will preserve, because once you start painting, then everything is going to smear, right? But it's not the case. With the tilma, you see, they couldn't find, we still haven't found anyone who found how it was done. Because you will have scientists going, well, let me see, we have a theory, let me go and find out. They have the special permission, they go in there and they start looking, and they keep finding more and more evidence that it was a divine intervention then, because they said even where the nose is, and even where the mouth, it just has a little bit even more, like it almost looks three-dimensional in that part. So the more they're looking, the more they're finding more different things. And also, this is something unbelievable too. So once you grab the tilma, and some researchers have found that they flipped it to the other side, and it's the exact same image. Exactly the same. It's almost like it was copied at the same time. And also the necklace that she has, that she's wearing, and also that's portraying royalty, right? So the necklace, exactly, and the other side is exactly the same way. So it's not like it's the back of the necklace, it's exactly the same. So everything is also the stars, the flowers, everything creates a symbol of fusion in indigenous and Christian or Catholic beliefs. It's a great combination. And also, this is the reason why. I mean, people will go there, the indigenous people will run over there and say, what do you mean? Yeah, I mean, this is what happened. So just imagine, just when they didn't have internet, they didn't have that time to pictures or anything, so it just happened. So just word of mouth. People start coming in more and more. You will get more and more people. So that was unbelievable, the amount of people that were converting, right? And they were embracing the faith. And then all the miracles start happening. But I think the very first miracle is the appearance of Our Lady of Guadalupe 4 times to Juan Diego, right? And also another one of the first miracles is when she healed his ankle, so he was fine. He was no longer sick. And that was just some of the beginning miracles, and ever since, millions. We don't even have an idea how many miracles have been attributed to Our Lady of Guadalupe. You used to be able to go to their shrine, to the basilica, in I think the basement and other area, they have pictures of miracles. And it was a lot of things were handwritten, a lot of things were portrayed somehow. So you used to just walk and look around the wall like all the miracles. And this is what it looks like in the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. You don't see it very close because they're protecting it. Another one of the miracles is someone, as you can probably imagine, at some point we had a president in Mexico who was not happy with the Catholic faith. So he was trying to abolish it, and then part of it is like, I know what it is. It's Our Lady of Guadalupe, so we're going to get rid of her. So we're going to get rid of her. So then he sent his people, and then they had a bomb right underneath the image. And any glass or anything that was 150 feet or more, everything exploded, and Our Lady of Guadalupe was intact. Nothing happened to it. Nothing. Everything else you can hear, a lot of people can tell you, the people that live there, they're like, what happened? She wants to stay. She wants to stay here. And that picture, I took the picture of her in Guadalupe. So she is probably higher than probably the end of that wall. And because everyone wants to go see her, they don't have something stable. So there's something like, you know those electric walks that when you go in the airport, you get in and then it just moves you? Something like that, but it goes from side to side. So you just kind of go this way and it goes really fast, and then you go again and you can go and get in line again, and you can go as many times. So either you take a video or you can take many pictures and hoping, one will show up. So that's a picture that I took. And so that's the tilma. Another thing is also, I forgot to mention, the size is probably that one is the original. And even though it seems too big, I was thinking that originally. I'm like, why is it so big? Because Juan Diego, I don't think he was that tall. And then his tilma, well, the thing is, their tilma, it was meant to be very long because that's how they used to go harvesting. So it needed to be very long. So it's not like he was, it wasn't in proportion to his height. It was just long, because the longer it is, the more harvest you can do, right? So that's why when he ended up like showing the bishop, then you see, and that's probably about the size. Okay, another important thing to mention, the stars that are, you can see over there, see the stars that are in her, in the green part of her dress, not her dress, but more of, I don't know if cape is a proper word, but so all the stars, they actually had, they were, the way they appear, they look exactly how they were that same night. That night, that's how the stars went line up. So the way they appear, that's exactly how they showed that day. Like I said, I hope when we finish with today's presentation, every time you see Our Lady of Guadalupe, you will be an expert. And also another thing that I didn't mention in my slides is she was actually, where she is now, it's about the 3rd place where she was. But originally, even though it was a big deal that she appeared, they didn't have a place. So it took him a couple years to build a church where she wanted it. And it was it was a very humble church. So they just grabbed the tilma and they just put it however they wanted. And at some point they folded it and put it away. So that's why you always see the line in the middle. So it's original if you see a tilma and you sort of see like the line exactly in the middle. And then one time, the basilica where she is now, one of the employees was cleaning, right? And they were cleaning, and something fell, this acid or something that he was using to clean, it fell right on the tilma. And you can see that on the our right hand side, which is her left. You can see sort of like a white, you know, when you drop something, a liquid is down. And of course, people that are very knowledgeable in the subject and substance and everything, they're like, there is no way. The material that is used, it would have disappeared. And then not only it didn't disappear, but you can see, as you can see in the right line, the way is going down, even went over the colors, and the colors didn't fade or anything. So they're still there. The moon and the feet. And so for the Aztecs at that time, okay, the moon, it was probably one of their biggest symbols. And Our Lady Guadalupe and all the rays that are around her is she's basically the sun, right? And they're talking about an eclipse, like the sun over the moon, and the way she's standing over the moon is basically getting the attention, like everything else is no longer important. Now it's God himself, which she was with child, right? So it was her representing. You can see it a little bit more in that image. So if you notice, the right hand side is sort of like a drip going down, and right in the middle you see a line also. And another important thing to notice is how her left side, how it's sort of bended, like the knee is bended. So people that have been doing research a lot longer than I have, they're talking about that she was dancing. And dancing for the indigenous people meant praying. So she's also praying, she's in movement. And also the sun around her, that surround her, are often interpreted as a divine radiance and power. And some see a connection between the rays and the sun as a symbol of divinity in the Aztec culture, because their Aztec god, the biggest one, it was the sun. The flowers that you see in her dress, you cannot probably see them from where you are right now, but once you get closer, you see, and they sort of look like the one in the screen. And so this is a combination of indigenous and Spanish elements. The roses that Juan Diego gathered and presented to the bishop, which resulted in the miracles image on his tilma, as a symbol of divine intervention and a sign of Mary's favor. Also, right in the middle, you cannot see it very well. I don't know if I have a pointer on this, but anyway, just think in the right underneath the ribbon, like the black ribbon, which also meant she's with a child. And that's what it meant with all the indigenous women when they had the tie, and it was a black tie. That means she's with child. So right underneath that, you see sort of like a flower that has four, just kind of like four, not semicircles, but they almost make a flower. I'm gonna try and see, yeah, right there, see it? That means she is a virgin in the indigenous culture, okay? We can say now like a 4-leaf clover or something like that, right there. So her face, the face of Our Lady Guadalupe, is described as a mestizo face. She's representing a blending of indigenous and Spanish cultures, and this is seen as a powerful symbol of unity and integration. So half of her face, it is lighter than the other half. So it was meant to be showing, you know, that she was, and also another sign that she's royalty. You can see that in the brooch that she is wearing. And you can see a little bit of the stars here, right? And they have done studies. There's a scientist from Peru who was focusing mostly on the eyes. And so he did a close-up of the eyes, and he found out there were 13 people, that she saw 13 people in each eye. And also they have done studies where they take the temperature of the image, and she has a temperature of a human body. And they done also the temperature of the eyes, and it's the same temperature that we have. So it's just amazing. Just more of the meaning. And her hands in prayer, indicating her role as in between humanity and the divine. Also, the hands, one is lighter than the other, but then they're combined, they're together. There's so much, and you can probably see more of the stars here on this. And then also something that showed in the indigenous culture that she is a queen is this line that is around, that is gold, right? Another one is her hair that is down instead of up, or instead of braids. That means she's a virgin. So you see all that. Royalty, hands, one lighter than the other, her face, one lighter than the other. She is royalty. You don't see it as gold, but you see it over there. I don't know if my, yeah, you can see it's golder, more of a gold color. And of course the sun behind her, which it was considered to be their god, one of their gods in the indigenous culture. So the sun itself was the god, but then she was in front of this sun, and then with child, so saying that this is, I don't know if you heard of this, but then St. John Paul II now, he canonized San Juan Diego in July 31st, 2002. In the Basilica of Our Lady Guadalupe. And if you start checking it out online, you can see many videos with thousands of people around in this celebration, right? And that's the old Basilica. The old Basilica, it was probably the second or third place where the cloak was displayed. And I don't know if you know this, but Mexico City used to be a lake underneath, so it's pretty soft. The ground, especially in this area, is pretty soft, so you can see probably on your left side. It's not that the picture was taken wrong, it is that it's really going down. So in this part right there, this part is going down. So for the most part, it's closed, so you can't really go in there, and it's right in front of the other one. They built a new one. But it's really interesting. When they allow you to go in there, you can kind of go sideways a little bit because that's how it is. So then they moved the cloak to the new basilica, which is right next to it. And this is a picture with very few people. But if you ever go there, you will see hundreds of people. And this is how they look side to side. One right next to the other. And right around the corner, you see some of the remains of San Juan Diego. That's where he used to go to church too. And then also, I learned that when I was doing this research, the only place that has a little piece of anything related to San Juan Diego is in the Diocese of Los Angeles in California. So that's the only place that they have a little piece of San Juan Diego, part of his clothes or something. Pardon me? A relica. Yes. Okay, so the old basilica was completed in 1709, and by the 20th century, it was facing, like I said, it was going sideways, right? It was sinking, and the new basilica was inaugurated in 1974, and that's where the tilma, believe it or not, is still displayed to the public. You just cannot really see it standing there because she's way up there and it's really far away from the people, but you can still go underneath and just kind of go really quick, and if you're going to go around, you just have to go get in line again. But you can actually see the tilma. And I have about a minute-long video for you to see somewhat what it looks like. So if Caleb can help us with that, please. I was hoping to find a better one. So the sound is not that great, but at least it's not the greatest, but at least you get to see something.
In the north of Mexico City, you'll find one of the most important pilgrimage sites in Catholicism, Basilica de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe. It's one of the most visited Catholic shrines in the world, with millions of people visiting each year. Back in 1531, Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared before a peasant named Juan Diego and told him to build a church. The Spanish bishop did not believe the man and said he required proof. Juan Diego returned to the Virgin, and she told him to pick roses and carried them in his cloak. Even though it was winter, flowers grew at his feet. When Juan Diego went to show the flowers to the bishop, an icon of the Virgin appeared on his cloak. It was ordered that a church be built at once. This story was used by Spanish missionaries to convert millions of people to Catholicism. The cloak is still displayed here, and Our Lady of Guadalupe has been the patroness of the Americas since 1946. Juan Diego was also canonized in 2002, making him the first indigenous American saint. The ancient basilica still stands, but after its foundations began sinking, it was deemed too dangerous for the huge congregation. You can still go in and look around, though. A new, modern basilica was built. It can hold thousands of people and is always busy.
Back. Okay. Yeah, were you able to see where she was way in the back? I know the picture that we take once you go by, then you're able to take one, but it's pretty far away, but you still feel the presence once you're there. And also, if you were able to see all the gardens that are around, all that it's just so beautiful, because especially this most recent time that my husband and I usually go once a year towards the end of December, January. And so when we finally took the official tour, when someone took us there, and they're like, yeah, and this is where it was the second operation. And over here, and I'm like, wait, oh my gosh, let me take this all in. The second operation happened here. Like, I just couldn't get enough of it, you know? It's like, she appeared right here, like right there, where you see that right there. I just couldn't, I'm telling you, and I still get the goosebumps. I needed a moment, you know, she was here. Our Lady Guadalupe was here. That was unbelievable. So yeah, you're able to see all that when you go there. You have to bring good walking shoes because you're still a hill, right? Still a mountain, but it's obviously very populated, and you can get different tours in different languages. And I'm getting ready to, and this is not a commercial, I'm just saying, you know, I'm getting ready to put a trip together for next year, and I'm going to bring people there. And right now we're looking into getting permission to any of the priests that will go with us from our diocese here that can celebrate at the Basilica. So all that's in the works, so please keep us in your prayers, and you will find out. We'll publicize it and see who would like to go, but right now we're putting all that together, because I think it's important for people to know, to see. And I was at a congress recently, not recently, but in February, March, in California. Every year is a LA Congress. We have about 10,000 people every time. And I went to one of the workshops that talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and the presenter was saying that one of his friends, who was not Hispanic, he said, well, what is this about Our Lady of Guadalupe? Tell me about it. Just, can you explain to me about Our Lady of Guadalupe? I don't get it. Like, why is such a big deal? I mean, I'm respecting all that, but I just want to know, like, why? And he said he was thinking about it, praying about it, and he's like, you know what? When it comes closer to the novena, then you go with me so I can explain a little more. So then he started going. He went to the novena. He saw the Aztec dancers. He saw the rosaries. And then he went to see the reenactment and just to see the devotion of the people. And when he was done with everything, he's like, okay, now you explain to me so then I can explain someone else. What is this all about? He's like, you cannot explain. You just have to leave it. You just have to leave it. So it's something that you perceive, like you really feel the presence of Our Lady Guadalupe. And I can attest to this area. Once you go to the walkway in Our Lady Guadalupe, you can feel like a strong presence of I don't know what it is. It's just so much faith. You know, everyone coming from different parts of the world to visit the Tilma and just to be there. As soon as you walk in there, I promise you, it's not just, oh, let's just go there and go over there. You feel the presence immediately. And so I'm there. You see the picture, I'm there. And I took the picture. I also have this short video. This is not a short video, but we're not going to see it all. It's from Form. I don't know if you know this platform, Form. Okay, so if you go to Form and then just go to the search part and then look for Our Lady Guadalupe, then you will see many videos. So I picked this one because it's a guy interviewing another guy. So I know it's long, but we're just going to see the very first part, especially when the guy who is being interviewed, he talks about his witness a little bit because he's a convert, right? He became Catholic, so you can see a little bit of that.
Hello and welcome to Formed Now. My name is Dr. Ben Akers. I'm the Executive Director of Formed, and today I'm going to be talking about Our Lady of Guadalupe, this wonderful feast day, especially important to us who live in the Americas. And my guest today is Dr. Jim Prothro, my colleague and friend here at the Augustine Institute Graduate School of Theology. Before we talk about this wonderful feast day, I'd like to thank you for your support of the Augustine Institute. Thank you for your support of Formed through Mission Circle. It's through your generous donations that you make these shows available. So thank you for that.
Sorry about that.
We celebrate on December 12th, this wonderful feast day, this apparition of Our Lady to the Aztec people in Mexico in 1531. And I've been blessed to visit the shrine and to see this image in person. One of the things that struck me, I was blessed to live down in Mexico for 6 weeks. And I spent a whole weekend in Mexico City living at the house near the shrine there. And one of the things that struck me is how pervasive Our Lady of Guadalupe is, the images of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And everywhere I went in Mexico, not just Mexico City, but all over the country of Mexico, I remember going to McDonald's and waiting in line for McDonald's and looking over off to the side, and there on the wall in the McDonald's was an Our Lady of Guadalupe. So more than just an image on the wall, we want to tell you about the story. And not only the story, but the impact for us today living here as part of the new evangelization. Pope St. John Paul II actually called Our Lady of Guadalupe the star of the new evangelization. So with that intro, Jim, how would you describe your own experience with Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Oh goodness! This is a tiny bit personal, but that's what we're about here. Is spirituality is always personal, right? I think I figured out what being Catholic was about. Like just all of the joy of adoration. First from vigils at a Triduum celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe down in Florida. I hadn't been Catholic for all that long, and so all the doctrines made sense in my head, and I had become comfortable with things like Eucharistic adoration. I'm like, okay, that's Jesus, and I'm here, but there was still some kind of connection in my heart of like I loved God, but in terms of kind of like adoring the Lord through His people, right, and those whom He sends to us, and through images of God's love and care, and the parish that we were a part of in Florida had a 3-day and non-stop complaints from the neighborhood, right? Constant celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I was there. I was on the 4 a.m. slot to be on my knees singing the Rosary, singing a chaplet in Spanish with everybody else, and I was meant to be there for an hour and then leave, but the smell of all roses, we were all just pouring our hearts out with all of the different images. And looking at this image where you can see God sending His emissary, our Lord's mother, to show, like you said, the new evangelization, to show His love and proclaim God's love and salvation desired for a specific people group that God meant to reach out to, and the way that they responded with faith and all the symbols. So I soaked it up for hours there. and was really groggy at work the next day. But I think that's where I learned sort of that's where the final piece of the puzzle came together for me of my life with God, both knowing the things and receiving.
You can pause it now. Okay, so I just wanted you to see his own experience. He's a recent convert, and just to see, well, I was going to be there for an hour, but then hours later, he's still there. And just the smell of roses, that's also something that you always perceive once you go into the basilica. People just bring in roses, and you can see the devotion and how people are. A lot of people are walking. They go in their knees, all the way in different processions. Just unbelievable. So Pope Pius XII declared Our Lady of Guadalupe Patroness of the Americas on October 12, 1945. So we already went through all those parts. Now let's look at the theological perspective. I don't know if you know Dr. Dora Tovar. She is my colleague, and she has a PhD also, but hers is in theology, and we're working together in the same office. So she was putting together a presentation to take it to the we had a national congress, and so she had this part that is specifically about Our Lady of Guadalupe. So of course we were talking to each other about it, and then so this is what she came up with, and I think it's a beautiful part. So this part right here about the theological perspective is actually from a theologian, okay, within our own diocese. And so she said that Our Lady of Guadalupe is an icon for the Mestizo Church. Mestizo is the combination of Hispanic with indigenous. The communion that integrates differences without abolishing or ignoring them. So a Mestizo ecclesial faith is an evangelizing faith. So basically it's for evangelization, and I truly believe that. She is an icon of intercultural in a missionary church. And also something to highlight, it goes to an encounter to integrate. So basically that's exactly what Juan Diego did, right? And also intercultural missionary becomes indigenous with the indigenous, Hispanic with Hispanics. And you can see the symbolism combined. And also a church that is light in the darkness of history. So I just inserted there like a message, right? A message that is light in the darkness of history, using the symbols of light from each culture. So you can see both cultures combined. And also, we're talking about a synodal church that listens and promotes a dialogue. And you can also see that represented in Juan Diego when he was talking to the bishop and everyone around him, right? It's a church that promotes a missionary leadership of all disciples. That's exactly what Our Lady of Guadalupe did with Juan Diego. He became a leader, right? And a disciple. Now, how all this has to do with any of us. I know this is beautiful. We heard about Our Lady of Guadalupe, and it's beautiful information, and I'm sure hopefully she's touching our heart somehow, and when we're done, please go out to the image and we can look at it together. But now, what does that mean for us? And I do a lot of prayer before I do a message or I do a presentation. And Juan Diego kept coming on all the time, it kept rising to the prayer. And I'm thinking, they want me to talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe, so I need to stick there. But then more and more, it was stronger and stronger, and I said, let's talk about Juan Diego too. How can we be the Juan Diegos of today, here and now, where we are, in our own realities? Well, Juan Diego was humble and he was open, right? His heart was open. When your mind and your heart are open, then many beautiful miracles happen, right? And also, each one of the highlights that I found out about how we can be a Juan Diego here and now, where we are, I also find a Bible passage because I like scripture. I like to find everything also in scripture. So you can see everything that I'm showing has a scripture. Also, advocacy for justice. So when we go out there, and at that time, I can only imagine how difficult it was for Juan Diego. He knew he wasn't going to be heard, And that's exactly what happened. He showed up, and every time she showed up, they will kick him out. They're like, no, thank you. He doesn't want to hear it. Because I can only imagine how many people go there. I have a message, I have something. I had a dream. Let me explain to you. So it wasn't easy for him, but he was conveying a message, right, to Our Lady Guadalupe. And also we might feel called to be advocates for justice, also speaking out against inequality, and more importantly, promoting fairness in society. Also, how can we be more cultural sensitive? The story of Our Lady Guadalupe involves being a bridge, right? She is a bridge, she's embracing everyone. We are called to appreciate and respect richness of different cultures, fostering understanding and working towards unity. Everyone just bringing up all the beauty that we have in every one of the cultures. I'm sure we have many cultures within our own parish, pastorate, diocese, country, and everyone combined to just make this beautiful masterpiece. And serving others. And we have a quote of, Mother Teresa. San Juan Diego, he was always willing to serve. As you saw, he was taking care of his uncle. And also, I didn't mention, but his wife had already passed away, so he was probably devoted to help his uncle, right? And he was listening to the Blessed Mother. So this could involve helping those in need, supporting our community initiatives, and also contributing to the well-being of other people. And integration of faith and culture. This is just a couple of the pictures that are many thousands of millions of pictures that you can find, where you can see how strong the faith is, the combination of faith and culture and the beauty. So it says here, this might involve living one's faith authentically while respecting and integrating with the diverse intercultural realities. So we have many cultures combined, but we have one thing in common, that is God, right? And the love for God and the love for Blessed Mother. And also an example of evangelization. Just as Juan Diego, life became a testament to the message of Our Lady Guadalupe, we can strive to evangelize through our actions, embodying principles of love, compassion, and justice in our daily lives, where we are, in our place of work, at home, when we go out shopping, just everywhere. If we become those channels of love, compassion, and justice in our daily life, that will be also making us the Juan Diegos of today and now. What's our conclusion? We are called to live the life of faith, humility, and service that positively impacts everyone around us. And what you see on the bottom is the message that Blessed Mother was telling Juan Diego. Every time he was scared, she said, am I not here? I, who am your mother? No estoy yo aquí que soy tu madre. No? So, and that's a conclusion. So please let me know if you have any questions, and if not, please feel free to go and look at the image. So that's it.